If you get stuck in one worldview, you will walk through your entire life missing opportunities you can't see, getting stuck on obstacles that don't have to exist, and trap your creativity within artificial limits. You have been doing this until now every day. I have been doing this until now every day. We have been missing opportunities just because of artificial mental limits that we are barely cognizant of. Our ability to shift worldviews is the key driver behind the biggest human advances. For example, this is exactly what Albert Einstein did when he invented general relativity theory. We had observed that the movement of light is affected by gravity. When light from other parts of the galaxy passes by our sun, its trajectory is changed. But in classical physics, that makes no sense. For light, we use the wave model because it helps us to explain its behavior when reflected by mirrors, for example. But waves don't have mass and therefore are unable to be affected by gravity. So we expanded our understanding of light and applied the particle model as well, imagining little photons, the tiniest packets of energy possible, which can be affected by gravity. The actual current explanation goes even deeper than that. But the key lesson is that neither the wave nor the particle model exactly describe reality. Both have blind spots they are unable to explain. But by switching between the two, we can see a more complete picture of what might be going on in the quantum domain. No matter how good a model is, it can never perfectly describe reality. No matter how good of a map you draw, it will never be able to exactly describe the territory. Every model has blind spots that it is either unable to explain or simply just ignores outright. At the end of the video, I have an incredibly powerful tip to help you practice this switching, so watch till the end. Which brings us to our topic today, the worldview centered around cooperation, championed by design systems such as Syntropic Agroforestry. We are very used to its opposite. The capitalist economic thought and a common interpretation of evolutionary theory have ingrained in us the paramount importance of competition. In this worldview, competition is responsible for bringing us innovation, general prosperity, and it even improves our DNA by cutting out the weakest specimens. But even in that perspective, we already see that we have cooperation one level above competition. We all collaborate to create the rules of the market in which we then compete, because we believe that these rules will lead to the greatest common good. Very often, wherever there is competition, there is also cooperation. Whenever we play a game of football, for example, we first agree upon the rules to make the game fair. We even get a referee that has power over us to enforce those rules, and only then do we start competing. Even in the most extreme form of competition humans have, war, we could interpret cooperation on a higher level. On the one hand, there are the rules of some form of just war theory that have existed in pretty much any civilization to date. On the other hand, while we might describe two societies to be at war with each other, we could also describe them to be collaborating to make each other stronger. Few circumstances make a society become more unified than a distinct public enemy that has to be overcome. And in the fear of being left behind, all systems are optimized to the utmost. Any slack cut out. The most effective society possible created. Two societies that are in continuous warfare with each other can therefore also be seen to be collaborating to become stronger compared to any of their neighbors. This is obviously not exactly what happens in reality. Most wars are short-term and rarely set participating societies on the path of long-term prosperity, which is why the competition worldview is not suddenly useless just because there are all alternatives. The most important thing is that we can switch between several worldviews to eliminate blind spots and help us overcome mental obstacles that exist in some worldviews but not in others. If we have a solid set of different worldviews without being attached too much to either one of them and their core sets of beliefs, we have a superpower that can help us overcome obstacles in stride, where others get stuck because they rule out certain actions as impossible for no reason but that they don't even know them to exist. A fantastic modern example for using two worldviews in parallel to combine their advantages while covering each other's blind spots are generative adversarial networks, or GANs for short. GANs are an invention in the field of artificial intelligence, usually composed of two actors, a generator network and a discriminator network. Say we want to train the generator network to generate images based on text prompts. Then we can start its training by asking it to create an image of a pretty little ladybug. Once the image is created, we give it to the discriminator network, which is a trained image recognition model, to give it a rating of the generator's performance. Like, "No, this does not look like a ladybug at all. Try again." So we could describe this behavior as competition. The generator tries to beat the discriminator by getting a good enough score, while the discriminator constantly strikes down the generator's attempts. But we can also describe it through cooperation at a higher level, since this adversarial behavior eventually will result in a picture of a pretty little ladybug, and we will eventually have a generator network that can turn text prompts into images. If we only used the competitive perspective, we would have probably been unable to come up with such a productive arrangement. But if we had only used the cooperative model, we probably wouldn't have created such a ruthlessly efficient arrangement. Both models were needed to come up with a strategy. You see now how powerful this is? So since we are all already so well versed in the competitive worldview, let us practice using our cooperative worldview and get our syntropic eyes on. The next time you go out into your garden, your local forest, or any other ecosystem, be they natural, social, or economic, try to see how things are cooperating, either directly or on a higher level. Trees are competing for light, but together, they create a microclimate conducive to their growth and reproduction. Insects kill many plants for food, but usually attack the weaker ones, which have the weakest defenses to overcome, and therefore open up space for stronger specimens to fill the gap. Weeds seem to invade our garden to take light from our desired crop, but in actual natural succession, they are great at colonizing virgin soil, creating biomass through photosynthesis, and then leave those nutrients behind as food for the next wave of slightly bigger plants, and so on until the climax ecosystem with massive trees able to support large animals has been created. While many individuals or species seem to be in competition on a higher ecosystem level, they are often collaborating to create conditions for long-term thriving in equilibrium between many roles to be fulfilled. So when you work on your next project, first, think about it how you usually do. Then, try to get your syntropic eyes on and re-examine the problem. If that feels difficult, my favorite approach is to try to imagine seeing the problem through the eyes of another person. Yes, it really is that simple. This can be generally the third-person view or a historical figure whose values you respect. Press pause now and try it out with a situation that you struggled with today. If you want something more guided to practice worldview switching, I made an exercise for mental freedom in this video. Check it out and practice regularly. It will become a true superpower.